The phone rang at midnight. I was already awake, sitting in my study with a glass of wine and a magazine I wasn't really reading. At 72, sleep comes and goes as it pleases. Mrs. Whitmore. A young woman's voice. Professional. This is Catherine Chen from Brennan Industries. I apologize for the late hour, but Mr. Brennan asked me to call you personally. My heart stopped. Started again. Beat differently. Brennan. Thomas Brennan. He saw your photograph in Forbes magazine, she continued. The article about your late husband's estate. He'd like to speak with you. He asked me to tell you it's about something that happened a long time ago. Something important. My hands were shaking. I set down the wine glass before I dropped it. Tell him, I said slowly, that Eleanor remembers everything. There was a pause. Then her voice changed, warmer. He said you'd say that. He'll be in New York next week. He'd like to meet you for coffee. If you're willing. Closed my eyes. 54 years. 54 years since I'd seen Thomas Brennan's face. Tell him yes, I whispered. After I hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time, remembering the summer I was 17 and stupid enough to believe that love could conquer anything. Turns out I was right. Before I tell you about meeting Thomas again, I need to tell you how it started. Because our story isn't simple. It isn't easy. And it definitely isn't the fairy tale people want to hear about rich girls and poor boys. It's messier than that. More painful. More real. My name is Eleanor Victoria Ashwood Whitmore. Though for one brief, beautiful year, it was Eleanor Brennan. A name I never got to use in public. A name I wore like a secret for 53 years. I was born into money. The kind of old money that comes with expectations and obligations and a life mapped out before you can even speak. My father owned textile mills. My mother came from railroad fortune. Together, they built an empire and a dynasty they expected me to continue. I was supposed to marry Richard Whitmore, heir to a banking fortune. Handsome, educated, perfectly suitable. Our families had arranged it when I was 16. Not officially, of course. This was 1957, not the Middle Ages. But arranged nonetheless. Richard was fine. Kind even. He would have given me a good life. Safe life. A life of charity galas and country clubs and children raised by nannies while I hosted dinner parties. But I didn't love Richard. I loved Thomas. Thomas Brennan. The mechanic's son from the wrong side of town. The boy my father called trash. The boy I married in secret when I was 18 years old. The boy who disappeared and left me pregnant and alone. Or so I thought that I met Thomas Brennan at a car repair shop. It was July 1957. I just graduated from Miss Porter's school. My father had given me a graduation present, a brand new Chevrolet Bel Air. Powder blue with white interior. Beautiful and completely impractical for someone who didn't know the first thing about cars. 2 weeks after I got it, something went wrong. The engine made a terrible noise. My father's driver was on vacation. So I drove it myself to Brennan's auto repair on the edge of town. The shop was small and dirty and smelled like oil and metal. So different from my world of polished silver and fresh flowers. Thomas came out of the garage, wiping his hands on a rag. He was 19. Tall and lean, with dark hair and oil smudges on his face. His work shirt had his name stitched over the pocket. "Can I help you, miss?" he asked. Then he really looked at me. And I really looked at him. Something happened in that moment. Something I can't explain even now, 54 years later. It was like the air changed. Like the world tilted slightly and settled into a new position. "My car," I said stupidly. "It's making a noise." He smiled. "Let's take a look." He spent an hour fixing whatever was wrong. I sat on a bench in the waiting area and watched him work through the open garage door. The way his hands moved with confidence and skill. The way he talked to the car like it was something alive that just needed understanding. When he finished, he came to the desk to write up the bill. Our hands touched when he handed me the invoice. $3, he said. I paid him $5. Told him to keep the change. "You don't have to do that," he said. "I know," I replied. But you fixed it faster than I expected. And you didn't talk down to me like I was stupid for not knowing about cars. He grinned. Well, you're not stupid. You're Eleanor Ashwood. I've seen your picture in the paper. You won that essay contest last year. The one about women's education. I stared at him. This mechanic's son read the local paper. Remembered my name. Knew about my essay. You read my essay. Twice, he said. I agreed with everything you wrote. Girls should get the same education as boys. Seems obvious to me, but apparently not to everyone else. I fell a little bit in love with him right there in that greasy repair shop. I found reasons to go back to that repair shop. My car suddenly needed constant attention. Strange noises. Vibrations. Problems that probably didn't exist but gave me an excuse to see Thomas. He knew what I was doing. I knew he knew. But neither of us said anything. We'd talk while he worked. About books and ideas and dreams. Thomas was teaching himself engineering through library books and night classes at the community college. He wanted to design things, build things, create something that mattered. My dad thinks I should just be happy with the repair shop, he told me one afternoon. Take it over when he retires. But I want more than that. Is that wrong? No, I said firmly. Wanting more is never wrong. My mother says I should be happy planning charity events and hosting dinner parties. But I want to go to university. I want to study literature. Maybe teach someday. Our parents don't always understand that wanting more doesn't mean we don't appreciate what we have. He looked at me then, really looked at me. You're not like other girls from your world. And you're not like other boys from yours. By August we weren't pretending anymore. We were in love. We started meeting in secret. Not at the shop where people might see. Not in town where gossip traveled faster than cars. There was an old covered bridge about 5 miles outside town. Abandoned. No one ever went there. That became our place. We'd meet there in the evenings, after Thomas finished work and after I'd told my parents I was having dinner with friends from school. We'd sit in his truck and talk for hours. Sometimes until midnight. He told me about growing up poor. How his mother had died when he was 12. How his father worked himself half to death to keep the shop running. How Thomas had learned to fix cars because they couldn't afford to pay anyone else to do it. I told him about growing up rich. How lonely it was. How every friend I had wanted something from my family. How my whole life felt like a performance for an audience that was never quite satisfied. Do you love him? Thomas asked one night. Richard Whitmore. The one they want you to marry. No, I said simply. I don't love Richard. I barely know Richard. But I love you. He kissed me then. Not the careful, respectful kisses we'd shared before. But real kisses. Deep and hungry and full of wanting. Marry me, he whispered against my lips. My father would never allow it. I didn't ask about your father. Asked about you. Marry me, Eleanor. I pulled back to look at him. His face was serious. His eyes were sure. Yes, I said. Yes, I'll marry you. We both knew what it would mean. What we'd lose. What we'd have to give up. But in that moment, in that abandoned covered bridge with the sound of the creek below, none of it mattered. We had each other. That was enough. We got married on September 15, 1957. No guests. No flowers. No white dress or photographer. Just Thomas and me and a justice of the peace 3 counties away where no one knew the Ashwood name. I wore a simple yellow dress I'd bought with money I'd saved from birthday gifts. Thomas wore his only suit, the one he'd worn to his mother's funeral 7 years before. The ceremony took 10 minutes. We said our vows. Signed the papers. The justice of the peace smiled and said, "You may kiss your bride." Thomas kissed me like it was the most important thing he'd ever done. "Mrs. Brennan," he whispered. "Mr. Brennan," I whispered back. We spent our wedding night in a small motel outside of town. Nothing fancy. Just a clean room with a soft bed and a view of nothing in particular. But it was perfect. It was ours. "I'm going to work hard," Thomas promised me in the darkness. "I'm going to build something. Create something. Make enough money so that when we tell your parents, they'll see I'm worthy of you. You're already worthy, I said. Not to them. Not yet. But I will be. Give me 2 years. Just 2 years to prove myself. Then we'll tell them together. Then we'll live as husband and wife properly. I promise. I believed him. I pressed my body against his and believed every word. For 6 months we lived 2 lives. In public I was Eleanor Ashwood, dutiful daughter, Richard Whitmore's future fiancée, my father's prize. I attended the parties, smiled at the right people, pretended I was the girl everyone expected me to be. In private I was Eleanor Brennan, Thomas's wife. We'd meet at the covered bridge 3 times a week. Sometimes more if we could manage it. We'd talk about our future, the house we'd buy someday, the children we'd have, the life we were building in secret. Thomas was working constantly, the repair shop during the day, night classes twice a week. He'd started designing a new type of engine component, something more efficient than what existed. He was sure it would work, sure it would be his ticket to success. Just a little longer, he'd say. Just until I can patent this design. Then we'll have leverage. Then your father will have to take me seriously. I was patient. I was good at waiting, pretending. But in March 1958 everything changed. I realized I was pregnant. I was 18 years old and 2 months pregnant when I finally told Thomas. We were in his truck at the covered bridge. It was raining, drops hitting the roof like tiny drums. I'd been trying to find the words for weeks. Thomas, I said, I'm going to have a baby. He went completely still. Then he turned to look at me. His face a mixture of fear and joy and panic. A baby, he repeated. Our baby. Yes. When? October, I think. Maybe November. He pulled me into his arms, held me so tight I could barely breathe. We have to tell them now, he said. We can't wait anymore. We have to tell your parents we're married. We'll figure it out. I'll work 3 jobs if I have to. No, I interrupted. Not yet. Please. Just a little longer. My father will disown me, Thomas. He'll cut me off completely. And your patent isn't through yet. We need that money. We need that security before we can tell them. It was the wrong decision. I know that now. But I was 18 and scared and I thought I was being smart. Are you sure? Thomas asked. I'm sure. Just 2 more months. That's all. 2 months and your patent will be approved and we'll have something solid to show my father. Then we tell them everything. Thomas nodded, kissed my forehead. 2 months. Then we stop hiding. But we didn't get 2 months. We got 2 weeks. My father found out about Thomas on April 3, 1958. Not about the marriage. Not about the baby. Just about us seeing each other. Someone had seen Thomas's truck parked near the covered bridge. Someone had seen me getting out of it late one night. Small towns talk. And talk travels fast when it's about the Ashwood family. My father called me into his study. My mother was there too, her face pale and tight. I've been told you've been carrying on with the Brennan boy, my father said. His voice was cold, controlled, dangerous. His name is Thomas, I said. And yes, I love him. My mother made a sound like I'd slapped her. Love. My father laughed. You're 18 years old. You don't know anything about love. You know what you know about duty, family, honor. And you've disgraced all 3 by sneaking around with a mechanic. He's not just a mechanic. He's studying engineering. He's designing. I don't care if he's designing the moon landing, my father interrupted. He's not suitable for you. This ends now. Tonight. You will not see him again. You will apologize to Richard Whitmore for any rumors this may have caused. And you will prepare for your engagement to be announced in the fall. No, I said. I won't. I love Thomas. I'm going to marry him. You're going to marry Richard, my father said flatly. Or you're going to lose everything. A home. Your family. Your inheritance. Everything. Is that what you want? To throw away your entire life for a boy who will never be able to give you anything. He gives me everything that matters, I whispered. My father's face hardened. Then you're a fool. Get out of my sight. I snuck out that night to meet Thomas at the covered bridge. I was going to tell him everything. About the confrontation with my father. About the baby. About the fact that we couldn't wait anymore. We had to come forward now. Face whatever consequences came. Thomas's truck was already there when I arrived. But he wasn't alone. His father was with him. Mr. Brennan, looking old and tired and angry. Eleanor, Thomas said when I got out of my car. His face was devastated. My father knows. Someone told him about us. About the meetings. You need to leave, Mr. Brennan interrupted. My son has a future ahead of him. Real possibilities. And your father made it very clear what will happen if Thomas doesn't stay away from you. What are you talking about? Yes. Your father came to the shop today, Thomas said quietly. He told my dad that if I don't stop seeing you, he'll destroy us. He'll make sure no bank in the state will give us loans. He'll make sure no business will work with us. He'll ruin everything we've built. Felt sick. He can't do that. He can, Mr. Brennan said. He's Richard Ashwood. He can do whatever he wants. And I won't let my son lose everything because of some teenage girl who doesn't understand how the world works. I'm not some teenage girl, I said. My voice was shaking. I'm his wife. We're married. And I'm pregnant. The silence that followed was absolute. Thomas's face went white. You weren't going to tell me like this. I was going to tell you tonight. I was going to tell you that we can't wait anymore. That we have to come forward now. Mr. Brennan made a sound like all the air had left his body. Married. Pregnant. Thomas, what have you done? I love her, Thomas said. I married her because I love her. And I'm not leaving her. I don't care what her father threatens. I'm not leaving. But Mr. Brennan grabbed his son's arm. You are. 'Cause if you don't, we lose everything. A shop. A home. Everything. Is that what you want? To destroy your family for this? She is my family, Thomas said. No, his father said coldly. She's Richard Ashwood's daughter. And she'll always be Richard Ashwood's daughter. You were a fool to think otherwise. Then he physically dragged Thomas to their truck. Thomas fought. He yelled my name. He tried to break free. But his father was stronger. And in the end they drove away. That was the last time I saw Thomas Brennan for 54 years. The next morning I went to Brennan's auto repair. It was closed. A for sale sign in the window. I drove to their house. The roses by the door already starting to wilt from neglect. They were gone. My father came into my room that afternoon. He looked satisfied. The Brennan family has relocated, he said. Mr. Brennan accepted a very generous offer to start over somewhere else. Far away. You won't be hearing from them again. You paid them to leave, I whispered. I paid them to face reality, my father corrected. I also had a quiet conversation with the justice of the peace who married you. Turns out he misplaced the paperwork. Very unfortunate. But these things happen. As far as the law is concerned, that marriage never happened. I felt something inside me break. As for your other problem, my father continued coldly, we'll handle it quietly. There's a home for unwed mothers in Boston. You'll go there next month. Have the baby. Give it up for adoption. Come home in the fall and marry Richard like you were always meant to. No one will ever know. No, I said. I'm keeping my baby. Then you're doing it without the Ashwood name or money. We stared at each other. Two people who shared blood but understood nothing about each other. Fine, I said. I don't want your money. I packed a bag that night and left. Took only what I could carry. Left behind everything else. I was 18 years old, pregnant and alone. But I was Eleanor Brennan. And I was going to survive. I found a small apartment in Boston. One room with a shared bathroom down the hall. I got a job as a waitress, then a second job as a typist. I worked until the day my water broke, 8 months later. I had a son. 7 pounds 3 ounces. Dark hair like his father. Blue eyes like mine. I named him Thomas. Thomas Brennan Jr. The hospital bills bankrupted me. I had to move to an even smaller place. I worked 3 jobs. Barely slept. Barely ate. But I kept my baby. Kept my son. For 6 months I managed. Then I got sick. Pneumonia. I ended up in the hospital. Tommy went to temporary foster care. That's when my father found me. I was lying in a hospital bed, weak and feverish, when he walked in. "You've made your point," he said. "You've proven how stubborn you are. Now come home. Marry Richard. He's still willing. We'll say the boy is an orphan you've decided to adopt. We'll create a story. You can keep him. But only if you come home. Only if you do this right." I looked at my father. At his cold eyes and his expensive suit and his absolute certainty that money could fix anything. And I thought about Tommy. My beautiful baby boy who deserved better than a mother working herself to death in a one-room apartment. "Will you legally adopt him?" "Yes." "Will you give him the Ashwood name? Make him your heir?" "Yes," my father said. "If you marry Richard, the boy will be treated as your legitimate son." Closed my eyes. Sometimes love means sacrifice. Sometimes it means giving up what you want so the people you love can have what they need. "Okay," I whispered. "I'll marry Richard." I married Richard Whitmore in December 1958. Small ceremony. Quick. Efficient. My father told everyone I'd been doing charity work abroad and had fallen in love with Richard through letters. A modern romance. People believed it because people believe what they want to believe. Richard was kind about Tommy. He never treated him as anything less than his son. We had 2 more children later, Sarah and Michael. And Richard loved all 3 of them equally. I tried to love Richard. I really did. He was a good man. A good father. A good husband in all the ways that mattered. But I didn't love him. I couldn't. My heart belonged to someone else. At night, when Richard slept beside me, I'd think about Thomas. Wonder where he was. If he was alive. If he hated me for not fighting harder. If he'd moved on and found someone else. I hoped he had. I truly did. I hoped Thomas Brennan had built a beautiful life somewhere far away. Years passed. Tommy grew up believing Richard was his father. My other children never knew the truth. I played the role of Mrs. Richard Whitmore perfectly. Hosted charity events. Smiled at parties. Lived the life my father had always wanted for me. Richard died in 2016. Heart attack. Sudden and painless. At his funeral, he was praised as a wonderful man. A generous philanthropist. A devoted husband and father. All of it was true. But standing beside his grave, I felt something terrible. Relief. 'Cause for the first time in 58 years I was free. The Forbes article came out 6 months after Richard's death. The Widows Who Built Empires. Eleanor Whitmore and the Future of Whitmore Banking. They interviewed me about taking over Richard's company. About my plans for the foundation. About being a woman in a man's world. They printed a photo of me at 72, sitting in Richard's old office. Behind me on the bookshelf was a photo of our family. Richard, me, and our 3 children. I thought nothing of it. Just another article in a lifetime of being in the public eye. Then the phone rang at midnight. Catherine Chen from Brennan Industries. "He saw your photograph in Forbes magazine. He'd like to speak with you." Brennan. Thomas Brennan. After 54 years he'd found me. We met at a small coffee shop in Manhattan. I arrived early. Sat in a corner booth. Ordered tea I didn't drink. Then he walked in. I knew him immediately. Even though he was 73 now. Even though his hair was silver and his face lined with age. I knew him. He saw me. Up. And for a moment we just stared at each other across the crowded coffee shop. Then he walked over. Slid into the booth across from me. "Eleanor," he said. His voice was deeper. Rougher. But still his. Thomas, I whispered. We sat in silence for a long moment. Years of words trying to force their way out all at once. I looked for you, he finally said. For years. But you disappeared. Changed your name when you married. I couldn't find you. I know. My father made sure of that. I saw the article. Saw you were widowed. I wasn't sure if I should reach out. If you'd want to hear from me after all this time. But Catherine, my assistant, she said I'd regret it if I didn't try. I'm glad you did, I said. He reached across the table. Took my hand. His fingers were still calloused. Still gentle. Tell me everything, he said. Tell me what happened after that night. So I did. I told him about Boston. About Tommy. About getting sick. About my father's ultimatum. About marrying Richard. When I finished, Thomas's eyes were wet. You kept him, he asked. You kept our son. Of course I kept him. I loved him. I love him still. What's his name? Thomas, I said. I named him after you. Thomas told me his story too. After his father dragged him away that night, they'd moved to California. His father had taken my father's money and used it to start over. Bought a bigger shop in Los Angeles. Thomas had been devastated. Angry. He'd fought with his father for months. Tried to come back for me. But my father had made sure there was no trace of where I'd gone. No records. No forwarding address. Nothing. I thought maybe you'd gone through with it, Thomas said quietly. Married Richard. Forgotten about me. I couldn't blame you. Failed you. I'd let my father drag me away. I never forgot you, I said. I didn't forget you either. But eventually I had to keep living. So I finished my engineering degree. Got a job with an aerospace company. Kept working on my designs. He smiled then. A real smile. Remember that engine component I was working on? The one I was sure would work. Yes. It did work. I patented it in 1962. Sold the patent to a major manufacturer. Made my first million by the time I was 27. I stared at him. I kept going. Started my own company. Brennan Industries. We design and manufacture components for cars, planes, industrial equipment. We're worth $3 billion now. $3 billion, I repeated. Yes. Ironic, isn't it? I finally became worthy of Richard Ashwood's daughter. 50 years too late. I want to meet him, Thomas said. Our son. If he's willing. He doesn't know you're his father, I admitted. He thinks Richard was his father. I never told him the truth. Why not? Because Richard loved him. Raised him. Was a father to him in every way that mattered. It didn't seem fair to take that away from him. Thomas nodded slowly. I understand. But Eleanor, he deserves to know the truth. We all do. He was right. I knew he was right. Called Tommy that night. Asked him to come to New York. Told him I needed to talk to him about something important. He arrived 2 days later. 56 years old. Lawyer. Married with 3 kids of his own. I introduced him to Thomas in my hotel room. Tommy, I said. This is Thomas Brennan. We need to tell you something. Tommy looked between us. Okay. I took a deep breath. Richard Whitmore was a wonderful father to you. He loved you completely. But he wasn't your biological father. Thomas is. The silence was crushing. Tommy stared at me. Thomas. Back at me. What are you talking about? So we told him everything. The secret marriage. The pregnancy. The forced separation. The adoption. All of it. When we finished, Tommy sat down heavily. So my whole life has been a lie? He asked quietly. No, I said firmly. Richard loved you. That was real. This doesn't change that. Just means you had 2 fathers who loved you. One who raised you. And one who never got the chance. Tommy looked at Thomas. Did you know? Did you know she was pregnant? Not until that last night, Thomas said. And then your grandfather made sure I couldn't come back. Made sure I couldn't find you. I'm sorry, son. I'm so sorry I wasn't there. Don't call me son, Tommy said. Then his voice broke. Not yet. I need time. He left. Walked out without looking back. Tommy didn't speak to me for 2 months. Then one day he showed up at my apartment. I want to understand, he said. I want to know everything. From the beginning. So I told him. Every detail. Every moment. Every choice I'd made and why. When I finished, Tommy was crying. You gave up everything for me, he said. You were my son. You are my son. I'd do it again. He hugged me then. Held me tight. I want to meet him properly, Tommy said. My biological father. I want to know him. Thomas came back to New York the next week. I watched from across a restaurant as my son and his father met for the second time. Watched as they talked for hours. Watched as Tommy showed Thomas pictures of his grandchildren. Watched as they discovered they had the same laugh. By the end of the evening they were both smiling. Thank you, Thomas said to me later. For keeping him. For raising him. For giving me this chance. Thank you for finding us, I replied. Thomas and I started seeing each other again. Not as teenagers. Not as the people we'd been. But as the people we'd become. He told me about his life. The companies he'd built. The innovations he'd created. The loneliness of success without someone to share it with. I dated, he admitted. Even got engaged once. But I could never go through with it. She wasn't you. I was married for 58 years, I said. And I never stopped loving you. Do you think that makes us terrible people? He asked. I don't want to dishonor Richard's memory. Richard knew, I said softly. He always knew. And he loved me anyway. That's the kind of man he was. He'd want us to be happy now. Thomas took my hand. Are you happy? Being with me again after all this time? Yes, I said. For the first time in 54 years, I'm completely happy. Thomas proposed on Christmas Eve 2018. We were at his house in California. A beautiful home overlooking the ocean. Tommy and his family were there. My other children. Thomas's colleagues. Everyone who mattered. After dinner, Thomas stood up. I have an announcement, he said. 60 years ago, I married the love of my life in secret. Then I lost her. For 54 years, I thought I'd never see her again. But we found each other. And I'm not letting her go this time. He turned to me. Got down on one knee. Held out a ring. Eleanor Victoria Ashwood Whitmore Brennan, he said. Will you marry me? Again. This time with everyone watching. I was 73 years old. My hands shook. My eyes blurred with tears. Yes, I said. Yes, yes, yes. We got married in February 2019. This time with flowers and a white dress and a photographer. This time with our son walking me down the aisle. This time with all 3 of my children and Thomas's whole family watching. This time I wasn't Eleanor Ashwood or Eleanor Whitmore. I was just Eleanor Brennan. Finally, Thomas and I split our time between New York and California. We traveled. Saw all the places we talked about when we were young. Paris, Rome, Tokyo. All the dreams we'd put on hold. Tommy and Thomas built a relationship. Slow at first, then stronger. They worked together sometimes. Thomas teaching Tommy about engineering. Tommy teaching Thomas about law. My other children accepted Thomas into the family. Called him by his first name. Treated him with kindness and respect. The grandchildren loved him. Called him Grandpa Thomas, to distinguish him from their memories of Richard. We had dinner parties at our California house. Thomas would grill steaks. I'd make my mother's recipe for apple pie. Our children and grandchildren would fill the house with noise and laughter. It was everything we'd dreamed of in that covered bridge 60 years ago. Just delayed by a lifetime. But we couldn't forget what we'd lost. 60 years. 60 years we could have had together. 60 years of memories we'd never get back. Thomas should have been there when Tommy was born. Should have been there for his first steps, his first words, his first day of school. I should have been there when Thomas built his company. Should have celebrated his successes. Should have comforted him through his failures. We should have raised our son together. Should have had more children. Should have grown old together from the beginning. Do you regret it? Thomas asked me one night. Marrying Richard. Living that life. I thought about it carefully. I regret that we were kept apart, I said slowly. I regret that your father and mine thought money and class mattered more than love. I regret that we lost 60 years. Pause. Looked at him. But I don't regret Tommy. I don't regret keeping him. And Richard was good to me. He was good to our son. So no, I don't regret the life I lived. I just wish I could have lived it with you. Thomas pulled me close. We have now. That's what matters. Is it enough? Yes. After everything we lost. It has to be, he said. Because it's all we have. My father died in 2003, 15 years before Thomas found me again. I didn't cry at his funeral. I stood there in black, holding my children's hands and felt nothing. After Thomas and I reunited, I went through my father's papers. Things my mother had saved. Documents from the estate. That's when I found the letters. Letters from Mr. Brennan to my father. Letters begging him to let Thomas and me be together. Letters saying that Thomas was a good boy who would work hard and take care of me. My father had kept them all. Never responded to a single one. I also found the payment records. My father had paid Mr. Brennan $50,000 to relocate. $50,000 in 1958 money. Almost $500,000 in today's dollars. And I found one more thing. A letter from the justice of the peace. The one who'd married us. He'd written to my father, saying he had our marriage certificate. That he'd be willing to misplace it for the right price. My father had paid him $10,000. Our marriage had been legal, real, valid. Until my father paid to have the records destroyed. I showed Thomas the documents. He erased us, Thomas said quietly. He literally erased our marriage from existence. Yes, I said. But he didn't erase us. We're still here. We still remember. That's what matters. Thomas held me while I cried for the girl I'd been. The girl whose father had valued money and status more than her happiness. Thomas and I had 5 years together. 5 years of the life we should have had 60 years earlier. We made the most of every moment. Every dinner. Every sunrise. Every quiet evening on the porch watching the ocean. In 2023, Thomas got sick. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The doctors said months, maybe a year. He lasted 7 months. I was with him at the end. Holding his hand. Our son on his other side. Our family surrounding us. Eleanor, Thomas whispered. His voice was weak. I need to tell you something. Anything, I said. These last 5 years with you were worth it. Worth all the waiting. Worth all the pain. Worth everything. Don't talk like that, I said, crying. You're not going anywhere. I am. But it's okay. 'Cause I got to love you. I got to be your husband. Got to know our son. I got to have a family with you. Even if it was only for 5 years, it was enough. It's not enough, I sobbed. It's not nearly enough. Then promise me something, he said. What? Don't regret us. Don't regret any of it. The waiting. The separation. Pain. All of it led us back to each other. Promise me you'll remember that. I promise, I whispered. He smiled. Squeezed my hand one last time. I love you, Eleanor Victoria Ashwood Brennan. I loved you when I was 19. I loved you when I was 73. I'll love you wherever I'm going next. I love you too, I said. Always. Forever. He closed his eyes. And an hour later he was gone. I'm 78 years old now. Thomas has been gone for 2 years. I miss him every single day. But I don't regret anything. Not the separation. Not the waiting. Not the pain. Because here's what I learned about love. Real love doesn't care about money or class or what your father thinks is suitable. Real love doesn't follow timelines or schedules. Real love doesn't give up, even when it has to wait 60 years. Thomas and I were married twice. Once in secret when we were teenagers who thought love was enough. Once in public when we were old and knew that love was everything. Both marriages were real. Both were valid. Both mattered. The years we spent apart didn't diminish what we had. They just made us appreciate it more when we finally got it back. My son Tommy is 65 now. He runs Brennan Industries alongside Thomas's nephew. He tells his children stories about both his fathers. The one who raised him and the one who never stopped loving his mother. My other children understand now too. They see that loving Thomas doesn't mean I didn't love Richard. Hearts are big enough for multiple truths. I keep 2 photos on my bedside table. One of Richard, taken on our 25th anniversary. One of Thomas, taken on our 2nd wedding day. Both men gave me love. Both men gave me family. Both men mattered. But only one was the love that changed everything. People ask me sometimes if I believe in destiny. If I think Thomas and I were meant to be together. I don't know about destiny. I don't know if the universe has plans for us. But I know this. Love that real doesn't die just because you're forced apart. Wait. Endures. Finds a way back. Thomas and I lost 60 years. But we got 5 years back. 5 years of the life we dreamed of when we were young and stupid and brave enough to believe that love mattered more than anything else. And you know what? We were right. Love did matter more. Love was everything. Just took us a lifetime to prove it.